On August 21st, 2015, 5 teams were inducted into the Sacred Heart Athletic Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame was introduced in 1993 to recognize the outstanding accomplishments and significant contributions by individuals and organizations on and off the field of play. With the addition of these 5 newest teams, the Hall of Fame has honored 41 individuals, 9 sports teams, and 1 family business. Recognizing past alumni with rich and varied accomplishments has allowed the Hall of Fame to honor 4 generations of excellence here at Sacred Heart School. The 1947 basketball team was a great inspiration to the teams that followed. They showed that Sacred Heart basketball was growing and paved the way for some of the great teams of the 50s and 60s. After a successful playing career, Coach Bob Hanna took the reins of the 1947 Eagles. This team's first string was comprised of Del Peterson, Ben Corbett, Billy Powers, Benny Wolf, Jack Ruddy, Jerry Driscoll, Don Lyons, Bob Browse, Pat Kelly, and Tom McMahon. In the early era of Sacred Heart Athletics, the Eagles had a tough go of it, since their gym of the 1912 building was not fit for practices or games.
But anyway, the basement was a weight room. The ceilings were very narrow. That kind of was the gym, but I don't think it was. It was just for special events. So we had no gym.
In that sense, these Eagles were real pioneers, with just the love of the sport driving their season. At the end of the season, the Eagles secured a spot in the 10-team regional basketball tournament in St. Cloud, Minnesota. The Eagles ended up winning the consolation championship.
Glad you could make it, Jerry. You're the captain. You're the MVP tonight. Oh, there's the assistant coach right there.
Even though their record wasn't brilliant, the 1947 team worked hard with no gym to play in and helped form the foundation of the next decade. We are pleased to induct the 1947 Sacred Heart basketball team into the Athletic Hall of Fame. The 1953 Eagles had a good season going, dishing out pain to local opponents such as Mahnomen, Oslo, Warren, Fisher, Climax, as well as their crosstown rival, St. James. The schedule was ambitious and allowed the Eagles to improve throughout the season in preparation for their historic postseason run. A lucky win in the first round of tournament play secured Sacred Heart a spot hosting the first ever region tournament in Sacred Heart history in our brand new state-of-the-art gym. The Eagles came out of the chute quick and, inspired by the hometown crowd, raced to a win. The win meant that the Eagles now faced the monumental task of beating the defending Region 1 champions, Duluth Cathedral. The town was buzzing, and the Eagles' gym was electric. The Eagles achieved the unthinkable, knocking off Cathedral 54-43. With a region win, the Eagles made the first dream trip to state in the school's history. Despite their preparations, Mankato Loyola easily handled the Eagles, winning 62-38 in a story of hot versus cold shooting. The Eagles' consolation semis opponent was St. Mary's of Bird Island, Lake Lillian. Neck and neck, the Eagles took the win, 47-44, when they capitalized on a free throw set up by a desperate, pressing St. Mary's team. Sunday's consolation final was one of the most exciting games played in the entire state tourney, according to the Minneapolis Tribune. The Eagles, trailing, took the lead going into the fourth quarter. In the final seconds, Bethlehem Academy tied the game.
And this is kind of interesting. Rules back then allowed a 3-minute overtime, and then it was still tied. You sudden death. The second overtime was sudden death, and you had to win by 2.
The game went to 2 overtimes before Sacred Heart was able to secure the 3-point lead required to win the game. The journey of the 1953 team will be one never forgotten, and is a source of pride and inspiration to the athletes that followed. We applaud you as you take your place in the Sacred Heart Athletic Hall of Fame. The 1958 basketball team was loaded with some very talented players. Seniors included Dick Cutterba, Bill Ketter, Dan Gust, and Dan Trisky. Underclassmen were Dennis Corbett, Ron Wavra, Neil Noyes, Punky Fontaine, Dan Nepple, Dave Smith, and Ted Walters. Coach Jim Brinkman had the Eagles fine-tuned early in the season, rattling off 6 straight victories. Among the early victims were Hillsborough, Fisher, Warren, Devils Lake St. Mary's, Northwood, and Red Lake Falls. After a loss to the St. James Jimmies, the Eagles went on to another 4-game winning streak. After losing their last 2 games by only 1 point, the Eagles finished their season at 12-7. The postseason saw the Eagles compete at the Minnesota Region 1 tournament in St. Cloud. The Eagles lost a tough game to highly ranked Duluth Cathedral, 52-48, which ended the Eagles' season way too soon. By the end of the season, the Eagles had amassed a 52-point scoring average per game, way above what was average for that era. It is our honor to induct the 1958 Sacred Heart basketball team into the Athletic Hall of Fame. The mantra, "Try, try, try again," was a common reality for the 2005 Sacred Heart baseball team. After dominating the section in baseball in 2001, 02, 03, and 04, but always losing in the section finals, the team finally broke through and scored a win to be the first Sacred Heart baseball team to advance to a state tourney. Under the guidance of first-year head coach Mike Elke, the Eagles cruised in the early part of the season before winning the conference title and entering into the subsection as the number 2 seed. The Eagles muscled their way to the subsection title, defeating Kitson County 4-1.
Mr. Merrick mentioned, we've been in the section final for, forever. Yeah, I've got the runner-up. And the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is we have a lot of great baseball players that come through here.
As the Eagles headed to the subsection 8A final for the 5th consecutive time, there was no time to dwell on the past. The Section 8 title game versus Winnemac was a game for the ages. The Eagles pounded the ball and stranded 11 runners. 9 of them were in scoring position against Winnemac, and the frustration mounted in a game with an intensity level that was off the charts. It became a pitching duel as the Eagles found themselves unbelievably down 1-0 in the bottom of the 7th, and what could be the most famous inning in Sacred Heart baseball started. The big blow was a Mike Fineff double off the wall, just missing a home run. Andrew Curley reached on an infield hit, and then the bases were loaded. Ross Carview laid out the perfect suicide squeeze for Fineff to score the winning run, and 5 years of frustration was instantly wiped away. After an official send-off, the Eagles traveled to state with a 20-3 record. The Eagles suffered a 4-1 loss against their first opponent, the highly ranked New Ulm Cathedral. The Eagles finished their state run with a 4-3 loss to Monaga. Although the losses at state were disappointing, the 2005 baseball team clearly defined the term perseverance and upped the bar a little higher on an already brilliant tradition of Sacred Heart baseball. All future teams take their inspiration from this 2005 team to make their own contributions to the tradition of Sacred Heart athletics. We are pleased to present to you the 2005 Sacred Heart baseball team, our newest inductee into the Sacred Heart Athletic Hall of Fame. With the loss of 6 seniors, the bar of expectations was set a bit lower by fans and local media in the 2006 baseball season. But in the minds and hearts of the team, the fire of a desire to return to the top was still burning. The 06 baseball team shot out of the gate, much to the surprise of many, going 4-0 and carrying the number 2 rank early in state polls. But soon the reality of youthful mistakes set in. as the Eagles hit a low, finishing 4th in their own tourney. The Eagles squeaked by in their first subsection game 1-0 and almost fell in the semifinal against Fertile Beltrami. The team didn't panic and came back to tie and win the game after a crucial hit. The Eagles met BGMR in the final and after digging out of a 7-run deficit, rallied to tie the game. But BGMR prevailed in extra innings to take the subsection title. Nonetheless, the Eagles advanced to their 6th straight Section 8A tournament to defend their title. In storybook fashion, the Eagles met BGMR again in the section final. The Eagles leaned on their tradition and improved defense to trounce the Gators 9-1. The Eagles returned to state with the cry, "Repeat is sweet." The Eagles took a 16-8 record to the 2016 state tournament. The team suffered a first-round loss, but in the second game, capitalized on several Chatfield early errors. After scoring 6 runs in the first and 2 in the second, they sealed an 8-0 win to take the first victory in a game at state. In the state consolation final, the Eagles found themselves facing tourney favorite Upsala Swanville. The Eagles quickly found themselves down 5 runs after the first inning, but slowly chipped away at the lead. Ross Carview came in to shut out Upsala Swanville in the top of the 7th, aided by a crucial pickoff at first base. The Eagles overcame a 5-run deficit to take an 8-7 win and return home with the state consolation tournament trophy. Comebacks were the story of the Eagles season, and this comeback was responsible for the best finish of any baseball team in Sacred Heart history.
It was the style of baseball that we had here that really kind of exhibited the character of the kids more than anything. We played with a swagger. We played with just a flair for the game. Their baseball IQ for kids at that age was off the chart.
The 2006 baseball team had the heart of a lion and the relentless fight which allowed them to overcome many adversities throughout the season. We are pleased to induct the 2006 baseball team into the Athletic Hall of Fame.